10 seconds remaining. Radiant team ban. Dire team ban.
Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to the ESL One Frankfurt North American qualifiers. We're actually going to be having a match between North America and South America here as T-Show, the Brazilian team, paces off against Digital Chaos. I'm Lyrical Dota, joined today by Gorgon the Wonder Cow. Sir, how are you doing and how are you feeling about this match here?
I'm excited to be bouncing back to some America's Dota. It's actually been a little while since I've had an opportunity to cast some good old-fashioned North v South, and I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome here. And you know, I think that a lot of people, obviously T-Show, they've been fluctuating their roster a little bit, but not nearly as much as Digital Chaos, who are part of that big Western shuffle that everybody loves to talk about. Now they've got Misery as well as Weeha, and picking up Mu from Archon, and then keeping the pieces that they had before of Sakska as well as Resolution, who's going to be playing that mid role as well. So I'm pretty curious to see how they end up working together. Misery is now the captain. He's the one that's drafting, and I believe that he's playing position 5 if I'm not mistaken as well.
Yeah, he will be playing support. T-Show also did have some changes within the last month. I think they changed 3 of their players. I haven't been able to find any ticketed games for either of these teams that are notable since they changed their rosters. Both these teams, this could be a bit of a reveal. Obviously, the expectations from Digital Chaos with their star power is a little bit higher than the expectation for T-Show, but you never know.
Yeah, well, and you know, giving away an OD, that's certainly a little bit scary, but they've also got a pretty good end of the spectrum. Beastmaster was the first pick for T-Show, and then followed up by the Invoker Nature's Prophet, and opting to ban out those early roaming heroes. Digital Chaos do hand over that OD, which I think is a relatively okay exchange. Again, Invoker versus OD, I think that you could end up saying that OD may be a little bit favored depending upon how it goes, but I think it's relatively even. What's your thoughts there on that mid matchup in general?
Yeah, so OD and Invoker are both very dependent on getting experience in the mid lane, more so than many other mid heroes are, and so they're much more vulnerable to being rotated on. I think it's really going to come down to how well the supports from each team plays in order to zone out or even kill the mid lane equivalency, whether it be OD or Invoker. In a one-on-one matchup, hey, you're one-on-one, OD comes out pretty far ahead, just in terms of the amount of last hits that he normally gets. He's also less likely to die in that matchup. So it is nice for T-Show, but once again, the supports usually make or break an OD versus Invoker match.
I would agree. And you see right there as well, Digital Chaos opting to ban out the Mirana. I think this makes a lot of sense. This is something that I feel like the South American teams in general, when I've seen them play, they love to run this. The old classic one was like an Ember who ended up maxing out Change to get that long disable off, and then you combo that together with the Mirana, you end up hitting a really long duration arrow. And then in this game, it's the sort of, you know, Astral Imprisonment immediately into an arrow, and you can just completely destroy your mid laner if you're not careful. So I like taking that natural setup out of the pool. Now you're going to have to work a little bit more difficultly, a little bit more hard, I should say, to try and find a hero that can roam in there on those mid lanes. And I think that this just goes to show that for Digital Chaos, they're comfortable sitting in these lanes, farming up, because they feel like they're going to be able to do well in the late stages. It's worth noting we also did ban out the Lion as well as the Life Stealer and the Brood, and that led us to the 3rd pick of the Dazzle. Kind of interesting. I almost feel like your teams always go for like something along the lines of an Oracle as opposed to the Dazzle. What do you think it is that they see in this hero that they want to go for?
They may be trying to get some negative armor strategy going on somewhere along the draft to go with an Exhort Invoker and the right click that comes. Dazzle is a hero that has been steadily dropping off since this patch hit, and he does not really provide disable, which has been very, very popular on this particular patch with Vengeful Spirit, Witch Doctor, Lion, all having reliable disables of some kind. He also doesn't really provide a lot of right-click or really damage at all, barring a couple of niche Shadow Wave interactions. For example, the Warcraft 3 block with a Nature's Call into a Shadow Wave or something like that. So damage dealers like Witch Doctor as supports have been a lot more popular this patch, just because there's been a more team fighting, more grouping together, and a lot of pushing oriented cores, which means that your support need to provide as much in terms of the push potential. Provide more in terms of team fight instead to make up for that discrepancy.
Absolutely. And I think that this sort of, again, that little nugget of information you gave right there. It does sort of, at least to me, give some idea of how they are going to approach this game. It really feels like they're going to try and play around that mid lane invoker a lot. And this is something that I feel like it's a team that sort of for a long time had an identity around sort of Aoi and Bulba playing together and the synergy that they had, and then it was a lot of moving pieces around that, trying to find out what worked from there. And I really want to see what kind of identity we see from Digital Chaos here, because I think that's pretty, like, in all of the top teams, you feel like they really do have that defining feature about themselves, and I want to see in which way this team looks, because it's a completely redesigned team at this stage. So a lot of questions still on the table, and in their first official match, I think, with their new squad, I'm super excited to see what it ends up coming out with. The Night Stalker is going to get taken fourth here, that really good vision advantage you're going to be able to do, countering out the Beastmaster a little bit. What else do you see in this hero that might be a little bit useful?
Well, the vision advantage that you mentioned is also great for the Nature's Prophet, because if he does go for a split push build, he can do it much more safely, right? The Night Stalker able to constrict the vision of opponents, so that chasing a solo Nature's Prophet around the map is much more difficult, and it's just easier for that Nature's Prophet to be able to get away with a Sprout block, or even just straight running outside of the field of view. A Tusk, another hero that provides a decent counter vision, right? You've got the Hawk now, you also have the Frozen Sigil. Tusk's Snowball is a non-disjointable, as is Paralyzing Cask. You do have a Sprout in, or the use of Vision Disadvantage to some other degree to allow a Nature's Prophet to get away. As long as T-Show reacts fast enough, they have quite a few ways to get around that problem, though.
Absolutely. Well, and I want to see exactly what it is that we're going to end up having happen here. So the thing that I always keep in mind with the Beastmaster is summoned creeps and that inner beast aura, what it brings to the table. It's much less going to be important in this game because they obviously don't have any on the side of T-Show. Instead, it's looking like the partner that you're going to be trying to pair this together with is that OD, and trying to use that inner beast aura to help him get a couple more attacks off in that mid game. It really can sort of push that OD's damage potential right on over the edge in terms of what you're capable of doing. And we're also going to be seeing the Sven band out, as well as the Slark, and then right into a Lycan. Man, talked about minus armor with that Dazzle. The pick suddenly starts to make a little bit more sense. What is it that this hero really excels at in your eyes that it's allowed him to get picked up more often recently?
Mid-game pressure. He's a mid-game pressure dealer, right? He gets off to a momentous start, and then he uses that equilibrium in order to pressure towers, pressure Roshan in a way that not a lot of heroes can, and create just this heads-down oriented strategy where your opponents are forced to kind of back up for lack of control of the map, and only take fights around their towers if you give them that opportunity. For Digital Chaos, really controlling the throttle of the game and controlling where T-Show feel comfortable engaging is going to be very important. For T-Show, keeping that vision up, making sure that they know when Digital Chaos is grouping and when they're just split pushing with Invoker, Nature's Prophet, and Lycan, those little bits of information will have rippling impacts throughout the entire game, starting probably as early as 10 or 12 minutes.
Yeah. Well, and of course, this is sort of natural wraparound as well that you can see Nature's Prophet coming down there to that off lane, summon some treants and trying to take that tower down. It does feel like that's going to be something that they could end up going for. The side of T-Show, they also don't have the best D-push at this point in time. I mean, you got Beastmaster Axes, which can sort of pull the creep wave past the tower, as well as the board that's going to be able to do the same type of thing. Witch Doctor Cask, you put yourself at risk when you're ended up going and trying to push out a creep wave, because you're also going to have those right clicks coming at you, and it doesn't really feel like they have something strong to be able to keep the Lycan from just running at them at this point, outside of like having to commit roar or going for something like an imprisonment. And T-Show are going to kind of double down on the ability to fight here, as they're going to take an Ursa Warrior as the last pick for that hero, Carlin.
That's interesting. What that tells me is that they, as much as anything, don't want to give up free early Roche potential, which can really screw with the Lycan if he doesn't get that early experience and gold boost, as well as the survivability to be able to push towers on his own, because he knows he has an Aegis and can get away. The Ursa is basically saying, you're going to get nothing for free this game if we can help it.
Well, we're seeing if they're going to be able to take something on themselves instead of just getting it for free. As you mentioned, this is a whole lot of Roche taking potential. You got Ursa, OD, Witch Doctor can just pop the heals, go in there, and it feels like they're going to be in a great position to do it. So I'm curious. I'm very curious to see how this works out. As you guys can see, though, we're going to be having there on the Nature's Prophet, and it is going to be Resolution playing the Invoker, which, you know, we knew that we were going to have Weehaw playing on the carry role. That being said, it is always a little bit interesting to see a guy who's just incredibly well known for that hero handing it over to somebody else, and
Right.
that's interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess we've got a moment. We can run through some of our teams here up on the Dire side. We've got T-Show, which has C4T doing that voodoo he do so well on the Witch Doctor. Tavo calling some of his friends on the Beastmaster. Soothes is from another world on Outworld Devourer. Bardo is rolling around on that Tuskar, and Carlin is stomping the ground with Ursa.
Absolutely wonderful, and they are going to end up being able to take away one of these treants. Saska is going to be on that Night Stalker. We've also got Senior Resolution on the Invoker. Back in Fountain still for the moment is going to be Moo. Apparently he changed his name to Z-Talk as well. Who's going to be playing on the Nature's Prophet. Apparently showing a little bit of love for the South Americans down there. Weehaw is going to be on the Lycan, as well as Misery playing the Dazzle. And everybody heads off to their respective destinations. Going to trade off runes. No big deal. They do spot that this ward was placed. So DC should be able to get a pretty quick and easy deny there if they do indeed want to toss that out. So pretty good start. For them if they do opt to take that. And actually Night Stalker does have 1 sentry ward, so if they actually give that to Rezo, he'll go into the lane with 2 levels.
Yeah, they shouldn't be giving that up, right? I mean, they scouted it, so they should be.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, as we're heading into this one, is there a team that you particularly favor? Do you think that the mid-game pressure that Lycan is going to give is going to be somewhat thwarted by the fact that T-Show have good Roche taking potential?
Could be, very much so, if they go in and grab Roche before DC are able to contest, right? If Weehaw gets off to a really good start and can either contest or even sneak it, or it becomes an issue, then it won't really obviously impact Digital Chaos's plan. But if Digital Chaos gets off to a slightly slower start, in the mid lane, they're going to aggress, but the Shards will miss. So, fine. Yeah, that's basically where it comes down to. How fast do each of these teams get off the ground, and how quickly do they go into Roche?
Okay. Well, and I guess also vision to some extent then as well is going to end up playing a factor, which gives Tavo a little bit of an edge here as well on the Beastmaster. He's going to be able to have that Hawk there consistently. But as far as mid lane is going, we've got kind of a funky one with the Night Stalker and the Tusk hanging out here as well. This is going to mean that both sides get a little bit less experience than they would otherwise, although Night Stalker does already have that level 2, and it looks like Tusk is thinking about heading over to do something else. I guess he's going to come back into lane.
Yeah, this is pretty common for an OD Invoker matchup, just because both are so vulnerable and so level dependent.
Bottom lane, Tavo getting right-click down is dropping fairly low. It looks like they're going to let him walk away for now, but that Poison Touch is pretty strong for Misery right there. Even though only level 1 Sunstrike, looking for him, not going to be able to find him though, and he is going to salve back up. That would have been a nice pick if they would have been able to find it.
It was a really well-placed Sunstrike. That's exactly where he would have been if he wasn't salving, right? That's right. So, just the awareness coming out of the mid lane, especially how chaotic this lane is.
How? Bottom lane, Tavo, flirting with danger, but also greatness. He's been able to soak up a good amount of experience here, and you take a look at this Moo. I swear, one time this game, I'm going to call him Z-Talk, I promise. He is going to be able to get a decent amount as well. So, level 3 versus level 2, and it's looking relatively even in these off lanes.
Beastmaster is about to run out of tangos, though. He already used his salve. He's got 1 tango left, and he is deep into his opponent's side of the river. Does need to be a little more careful here. Moo is handling his off-lane equilibrium much better at this stage. Backed by his tower, he's pretty safe. He's still got 3 tangos. I could very well see Tavo getting himself into trouble if he continues to hang out this board, especially with this wraparound.
Well, that one's actually Bardo, so he's going to be coming to see if he can make something happen to help out and potentially see if they can kill off Misery. It's not actually that hard to imagine as the snowball comes through, and they are going to be able to maybe find him. Yeah, that's the right click. And First Blood going the way of the Tusk. Just a little bit far forward. But regardless, not the biggest deal in the world. This could be if they catch Moo up in the top lane, right-clicked, as well as the ground pound, and 2 kills going off on both sides of the map.
Boy, that's what I get for hero icons on the map, huh? That would have been such a great rotation, too, if the Radiant had done it.
Wee is dropping low. Sunstrike might kill off Tavo. They do manage to find that one, and trying to get the body blocks in aren't going to be able to run away. Salve is going to be there to keep alive the Lycan, and the damage continues as Moo tries to find him here. They haven't been able to hem him in there. Look at the trees. Oh, they're going to be able to control him, and that's going to be a kill. Misery takes revenge.
Geez, considering he just transitioned onto the support, Misery's doing a fantastic job.
Absolutely.
Body blocks there. He got out the perfect shadow wave to make sure that the kill was secured. He kept the boar occupied so that it was not on his core. Pretty much every stage of that fight after he died.
That being said, Wee is in a little bit of trouble now, being slowed by that boar again. God, he's just taking so much damage and does not actually have any natural regen left. So he's going to have to play this a little bit more carefully at this point in time and make sure that Tavo does not just end up, getting them the snipe with the axes there.
So it is nighttime, but Sasuke is still only level 3, partially because he did spend so much time in the mid lane. He's going to rotate in onto Tavo here. Shouldn't be a kill, though. They don't really have the potential.
Well, they do have the slow from Misery, but not going to be able to get in range, as you mentioned. And so, because of that, they are going to back up. Do manage to kill off the boar. Oh my god, are they diving? Dive deep. Move. Yeah, he's going to go down. That's a quick and easy one.
That's they came in with an invisibility rune, I believe, is what happened there on Bardo. He was able to get out really close to that tower and ended up absolutely free snowball. With the creep equilibrium pushed so far back, there's just no getting away. I'm not sure that Nature's Prophet even could have really been aware of that.
Look at Sasuke here, diving behind the tier 1 tower. He's going to wrap around, and it doesn't look like Tavo is going to realize that this is happening. He does have the Eagle on out, and there's going to be the Poison Touch down as well as the Void. There's going to be the Sunstrike as well, and that should be enough for a kill running. Yeah, that's going to be enough. Well played.
I love how Sasuke was body blocking until the Sunstrike came in, and then he stepped aside and let the Beastmaster run through.
Yeah.
Sort of courteous. Yeah, you can go kill yourself if you want to.
Always good to see those types of plays. But yeah, 3-3 so far is the score. There's been a lot of fighting in this game. So far, 6 kills in about 5 minutes. And if you take a look at the last hits and denies, it's still relatively equal as far as the farm wars are going across the board, with the main exception being that the Nature's Prophet's gotten a little bit more than this Beastmaster as far as CS is concerned. So a pretty even start for the game. Is there any side that you feel like this is favoring so far?
Really hard to tell, right? Because Digital Chaos will come out with a lot more push than Tisha will, but Tisha will come out with much better overall team fight in general, especially considering this is an Exort-styled Invoker, so he isn't going to have those big AoE control spells, at least not for a little while. Down to how well the throttle and pacing is controlled, I think is Digital Chaos's ball, and how they want to bring it up the court is going to determine which of these teams comes out ahead. Solution rotating Invis down to the bottom lane.
Up top as well, they're jumping, and they might be able to kill off Moo. It does look like they're going to be able to finish off the Beastmaster, but at the same time, the right clicks are there. Can they kill off Carlin? They do have the Nature's Prophet Street there. He gets the kill before he goes down. A pretty nice one. That would have been a really clean escape had they been able to make that work, but unfortunately not going to be the case. So we get simultaneous kills, one down and bottom, and was it just sort of the cold snap combo with Forge Spirits that found him?
He just yeah, exactly. Got the Cold Snap out, the Forge Spirits out. He went down there with an Invis rune, and then the Shadow Wave with the Forge Spirits is quite a bit of damage. Invisible Wolves walk up, Forge Spirits walk up, Shadow Wave hits everything. That's a third of your health gone already.
Well, as we're waiting for the game to start back up, there is a little bit of lag issue. Let me see if I can potentially... See, are we all good? Are we good to go? Game's starting back up. Goodness gracious me, oh my. Looks like we're in a decent spot.
All right. So, I do feel like what DC has been doing for the last 2 minutes or so, where they keep these simultaneous fights across the map, really works out to their favor, because their individual strength, or their strength in small packs, is really, really great. Especially if you do use Howl globally across the map to help simultaneous ganks go your way. But once again, their overall team fight, not necessarily as strong, especially stage. So I feel like that they're playing to their strengths a little bit better than Tisha.
No, I would agree. And, you're looking at the way that this is working now. They've already taken the tier 1 tower. They're starting to, put themselves in a position to take those other objectives. Like, right now, Roche is open. And I feel like with that tier 1 tower down, it's going to be that much more difficult for Tisha to come and contest it if they do want to try and take it down. And, of course, the big problem that you're going to see with this is that they're going to be able to DC, that is, kill Roche incredibly quickly. So, I don't know. I would agree that probably they have been able to execute a little bit more effectively, and they need to continue that though, because it's the type of lineup with T-Show where you can come back in a few seconds and it just all goes to hell.
Yeah, Invoker is a great late game hero. Obviously, really, Lycan and Night Stalker can both go into the late game pretty well. But with an OD with the Inner Beast aura alongside an Ursa is a lot of very quick damage that eats through armor exceptionally well. So in the late game, their individual damage and pick potential, I think, is better than Digital Chaos's.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that probably I guess the thing that I would say about that is you do kind of have to go with like the rotation of like a roar with a beat or a Witch Doctor ultimate or a roar with an OD right clicking somebody. That's probably the big issue that you need to find.
Yeah, I'm laughing just because the stream is going crazy about the frames per second showing in the top right. I'm assuming right now.
Oh yeah, potentially.
They're pretty unhappy about that, which I find amusing. Anyway, moving back on, both teams are breaking down to the jungle, which is reasonable at this stage, right? The Vlad's is almost done on Lycan. He can't Rosh without it. Ursa is able to go through jungle stacks relatively effectively when his lane is out. Have the Morbid Mask. Pretty close to a point where he would be able to go into Rosh as well, especially if Witch Doctor joined.
And it looks like back towards there, they're going to be able to find him. A quick and easy pickoff, as I think Moo is going to end up going down. Oh my god. Yeah, Say's Eclipse getting dropped, that's going to be a problem. That's a pretty issue.
They were in a hurry to get that. They presumably were expecting rotations or something, because to drop the hammer there is like using a hammer to break a porcelain vase. You know what I mean? You don't need that much force.
Oh, jeez. Well, let's see. 5-5 is the current score, as they are going to be able to jump here looking for something, as they do have Tavo in the area. The Forge Spirits are going to be able to do a decent chunk of damage, but with the rotations back in, they might have overstepped their bounds, are going to be able to get the silence onto Tavo. He is not going to be able to roar, and that's going to be the snowball save. He's going to be able to come out of this and roar if he wants to, as they're going to look for it. Does manage to commit that onto Resolution. They find the kill, but they are going to be able to kill off Rezo, and as the chase continues off to the side, it looks like Moo might be able to go down as well. Can they find that kill? The right clicks are not going to be there, and instead they kill off the Ursa. Carlin goes down, so a 2-for-1 trade, but that could have just been a straight pickoff if that snowball save had not come.
Yeah, the way that was looking was really out of favor for T-Show. Now was a little out of favor for T-Show. They only lost the relative net worth of about 200 gold on that exchange.
Weehop in the bottom lane is actually going to be controlled for the moment. Can they find the kill? They do have the stun that's going to connect, and from afar the cask is going to continue to bounce. It does look like Wee is going to be able to escape though. And while this is all happening, TPs went up to the top, or bottom lane rather. They're going to be able to pressure this mid lane, and my god, they are just all over the map with this pressure.
Yeah, they're doing exactly what they need to be doing with this draft, which is strip the tier 1s, especially the tier 1s by the Rosh pit, as early as you possibly can. Do so probably by the end of the first night if you can, and they're almost to that point, so that they can go into Rosh without any anchor points for potential engagement. Now, after they get this tier 1, they probably go to the top tier 1 and then try to get a pick, ideally a pick on the Ursa. Once you have that death, you can just move into Roshan with absolutely no concerns for re-engagement.
Well, and like even in the midst of that pressure that was going on in the mid lane, they TP'd up to the top one, and you can see right now the response. Carlin is going to come on in here, try and take out the Roshan, but it is worth noting that they do have the wolf in the pit as well, so they have complete and total vision of this. So if they want to come and contest, they're going to be able to, which is something that's pretty good for this at the start. Because of that, they end up backing out. It looks like T-Show don't want to commit fully for the mid-tier 1 tower. And the whole time, too, they're just being pulled across the map. Moo's pressuring the tier 2 in the top lane.
Yeah, this is that heads-down strategy that I was talking about, right? If they come out of their little hiding holes at any point in time, they get punished everywhere else. They need to make sure, or the idea for Digital Chaos is to pressure them to make sure that they are not coming forward and being aggressive. Instead, they're always having to react. And they're doing a great job of it, just applying that global rotation strategy. Weehaw be able to go in and take Rosh anytime he wants now, as long as it feels like it's safe.
Mid lane, Sooth is going to end up getting controlled for the moment. Sunstrike's not going to be enough to find the kill, and they don't want to try and take him down with Sanity's Eclipse off of cooldown. That could rapidly become an awful decision.
Yeah, mid tower, looks like they're thinking about aggressing on it. They are grouped up here. Maybe just trying to bait out the OD?
Well, I think that what happened there was that like OD was getting jumped on in the mid lane. They had to rotate a couple heroes to defend him, and so it's just like everywhere they go.
Invis rune, and he's hanging around here. It implies that they're planning on getting something done here, right? They are going to smoke now, and presumably rotate into the bottom lane or into Roche. Ursa's not with them, right? Yeah, Ursa's not with them, so
they could take it with OD, but yeah, it's a little bit.
Yeah, they're going to rotate into the bottom lane, try to get this dazzle, and then maybe a tower. And once again, for the Dire side, that's the same exact strategy, right? You want to take out the anchor points before you go into Roshan, or else the reactions can be a little too fast at this stage in the game.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree that those TP rotations, I mean, I guess that's the thing that you need to worry about here as well, is like if they do end up trying to move in and dive the dazzle, you can still have the same problem of TP rotations, and all of a sudden you end up losing out. But still nobody in the pit for the moment. Right now they're just going to keep the dazzle safe behind the tower. They're going to farm out the enemy jungle, and I mean, if you look at the way that this game has gone so far, it's about a 7,500 lead for DC with about 5,000 experience, and they're in a great position. There's not really a whole lot to stop them, and if they continue to play like this with T-Show just having to react consistently while DC is farming to their heart's content, I feel like they're just going to be able to sort of out-economy them.
The Wolf is scouting out this Roshan as well, so... and now he knows it because he just got hit by the Nature's Crop, but it's too late.
Oh, God. All right, Dazzle ended up killing the Ursa. They are going to be able to catch Moo in the top lane, and he does end up falling there to the mixture of the Walrus Punch and everything else, but Misery might just think about soloing Roshan here. They're going to bring on in Resolution, which should be able to finish it, but this is going to be a lot of levels, a lot of gold, and suddenly in a ton of trouble as well. OD in the mid lane, silenced up, and Suits is going to fall. Oh, my goodness. T-Show is crumbling.
Yeah, that Roshan attempt was too aggressive, I think, coming out of T-Show. They are not in control enough of the map, and they certainly don't have the vision up on the map in order to really comfortably sit in such a high caliber objective, right?
I think that did Roche like stun him, and that's why he didn't move for the Sunstrike? Those coming in, or was that just sort of luck that he didn't move?
He just wasn't aware that it was about to hit him, right? The Sunstrike came in right after he was made aware that he was seen by Wrath of Nature. He didn't have a lot of opportunity to get away. He might have been stunned, but I'm not sure that he could have gotten out even if he wanted at that point.
Well, you can see now as the pressure is going to continue to be leveled against this bottom lane. Everybody's moving in. They do have the Sanity's Eclipse up again if they want to commit it for this type of fight. But unless they end up actually finding a pretty good couple of right clicks, well, they could think about it now. Lycan is here. The rest of his team is away. Yeah, he needs to back on out of there before things go bad.
Yeah, that's the right call. We see this sort of actually on Carlin, so I'll come back to this point.
Yeah, they've got the silence, they've got the catch, body blocks from a Dazzle. Oh, Misery! Don't let him go where he wants to go. Sunstrike's gonna come through, and nice little damage reduction coming out. Is it gonna be enough to keep him alive? No, they're gonna find the kill. Oh, and again, T-Show just being ran through.
Yeah, I mean, Digital Chaos have a much better ganking potential. They have a much better 2 or 3 man squad potential for T-Show. They absolutely need to have an opportunity to fight 5-on-5. Digital Chaos are just not giving it to them. They're doing a really good job of applying pressure globally.
Well, and that's sort of been the name of the game for them so far, is that global pressure. Even the Wrath of Nature coming through, Sunstrikes, everything. The tier 2 tower goes down, and they stick around. You know, you get sprouted at this point in the game, there's going to be some issues. Worth noting that the Lycan just casually takes the other tier 2 tower at the same time. Aegis is up and online still for the Invoker. And, I mean, it's 16 minutes in the game. They could think about going high ground now if they want to.
They do have to think about going high ground soon, because there's not going to be another Roche for a while. And while they have the Aegis, they need to make sure that they at least try to break it. We see a lot of teams run these sort of fast blitz strategies. To this point, where they're ahead, they're clearly ahead in terms of net worth, right? Like 12,000, but almost entirely from Tower Gold and Roche Gold. Then when they try to take high ground, they stall out, and they slowly start to dip, and then their opponents, based on the advantage of high ground, end up coming back. Yeah, it's something that actually happens to South American teams a lot, because they do, as a general rule, like these really fast blitz strategies.
Right.
It'll be interesting to see if Digital Chaos are able to maintain their control of the game.
Oh, Sasuke's going to be controlled. The Witch Doctor ultimate goes as well as the Roar, but that's a lot to commit for just that Night Stalker. And now the question is, can they actually take a fight after the fact? They do have the ultimate popped right now for Wii and scouting things out with the Wolves. If they want to try and jump in, they could. Reza was looking for the Tornado there, or at least some form of initiation. Did not end up throwing it out as he did already use Invoke. So a nice little team fight. I will say that I kind of like the Necrobook pickup for Lycan. He's already got level 2 coming out to him, I believe. He might actually just have level 1. But regardless, I think that it's a pretty nice pickup. Like, if you go for BKB this early, there's a chance you could fall off. But here you can just keep on going for that split push pressure.
It's all about the ability to get as much damage on these towers, especially the high ground towers, with safety, right? And with the Howl and the Necrobook, that's just that much more damage that they're able to put on the towers without actually physically having heroes in danger's way. That last pickoff, though, that was a 1,300 net worth pickoff. But remember, almost all of the actual net worth advantage that Digital Chaos has comes from these towers that they have. If T-Show are able to get several pickoffs like that to the point where they can go basically toe-to-toe with Digital Chaos, when they do start actually taking towers, that will swing a huge differential back into their favor. Every time a Digital Chaos hero dies right now, they're losing, just from their tower gold advantage, something like 8% of a tower, right? So every death matters right now.
Yeah, and I think that probably you need to be able to do this by virtue of taking a pick off with a smoke, and they only have one for the next 9 minutes. So this is like their one big shot if they're going to be able to make something happen here, is with one of these smoke ganks that could come out. It's worth knowing they don't want to try and do this with Aegis still up, but Rezo's Aegis is about to wear off in a couple of seconds. Granted, it does feel like you might have missed your timing with the Ursa with the Blink Dagger, considering it's just under 20 minutes into the game, but you know, it's another item that he's going to have that's going to allow him to fight. So, you know, things are coming together a little bit for T-Show here. It's not the absolute worst thing in the world. It's pretty bad though.
Yeah, they're certainly not in a position that they want it to be, right? The world has not been their oyster so far, but the Blink Dagger is going to allow Karlin to sit farther back on these high ground defenses in relative safety and generally out of vision, even with the Night Stalker if the Axe comes up. And that will allow him to engage and initiate on these high ground defenses in a way which is much more effective. Not to mention the fact that when they actually go out and try to gank as they are right now, he's able to initiate rather than being reliant on the Primal Roar.
They really do want to get something with this. Unfortunately, I think that they revealed themselves with that creep wave going by in the shards. They might have been able to... No, yeah, they're all going to head out of there. God, that really hurts. This was their last smoke here for about 9 minutes, roughly. 7 minutes now at this point. It's going to be a long time without a lot of agency on the map for T-Show.
Yes, I don't think that we've actually mentioned a lot in terms of the item differential between these teams, but, you know, we're looking at a 15,000 net worth disadvantage at 20 minutes at this point. There's a full set of Guardian Greaves and a casual Cloak on the Dazzle, right? There's the Beastmaster is still on Boots of Speed and Necro 1, though he does have the recipe for Necro 2 when it's it.
I mean, yeah, Dazzle has just ever so slightly less farm than the Ursa. You know things aren't going well when that's going to be the case.
Resolution did just finish his Ags as well. It'll be out to him as soon as the Courier is available.
Yeah. Well, and I'm kind of curious what the next item is going to end up being here. Do you think that Nature's Prophet ends up going for something like a Necrobook himself, or can he go for a little bit more of the scaling damage, since we're not seeing those sort of right-click items for the Lycan at this point?
I think if Digital Chaos play this right, Nature's Prophet won't be able to get a Necrobook up before this game's over. They want to finish this relatively quickly while they have this huge advantage. Even if they only maintain at 15,000 net worth, that, as a percentage of total farm, goes down over time as the game goes on. So 15,000 net worth is much bigger at 21 minutes than it is at 35 minutes.
Right.
If they just wait for their heroes to farm, even though they have a major farm advantage because of their map control, it will play out of their favor. Right now is their best opportunity to get up and get active.
Well, and maybe they're just waiting for that last, Aghanim Scepter on Night Stalker. As you mentioned, they just finished the big items on the Invoker. The Aghanim Scepter completed for him. You've also got the Necrobooks level 3 completed for the Lycan. Dazzle with Greaves. Like, if you wait for that one last big item at this point for the Night Stalker, then you're probably going to be in a position where you can take high ground relatively easily. And also probably just, getting the creep waves pushed in across the board. Make sure that this is going to be a good position for them. And Invoker's actually going to end up going back for the BKB, it looks like, at this point as well.
So, and also the Aegis is about to be back up, and they have enough map control, and they've removed all anchor points from the map, so it should not be a difficult grab for Digital Chaos, especially with all the vision potential that they have with the Wolves and the Night Stalker Ags that's about to be out and all that jazz. Looks like Ags is going to be the pick for the Nature's Prophet, by the way.
Just look at all this vision that they've been able to get. Like, the 5 heroes move out from T-Show and they just run into a tree in their own jungle, and they're just not able to get any type of, like, unknown thing. Oh, are they going to be able to snipe this courier with the wolves? They're looking for it at least. Are going to be able to get a couple of right clicks, but it's going to go up to the high ground. That would have been pretty nice.
That was funny. Yeah, so the control of the game is completely in Digital Chaos's hand. They are the masters of T-Show's fate, especially with no smokes available and the Ags now out on Night Stalker. They can't see anything. They can't really go out and get any farm. When they do move, they have to move as 5 because that's the only way they possibly win fights, right? They do have a decent 5-man lineup, but it means that they're not getting nearly as much experience as their opponents. They are now about 14,000 experience in deficit, which is quite a bit considering they still have heroes that don't have their level 2 ults, right? 14,000 experience isn't as much when people are starting to crest in like 16, 17 level, but
yeah,
at level 8 or 9, or wherever these heroes, I mean, Witch Doctor is still sitting at level 10, so 600 experience is equal to a level for him, and we're looking at 14,000 experience differential.
There hasn't been a kill in the last 6 minutes, but they've still been able to build off of that 6,000 net worth and advantage in 6 minutes. So they're gaining 1,000 net worth lead over their opponents per minute as they're sitting here, just because DC is able to farm the entire map and T-Show farms like these 3 camps right here. It's been really, really unfortunate for T-Show and the way that the map control has just been seeded over.
At the very least, they are getting out of their base and getting something, though. In a lot of cases where you have games like this, the team literally has to just sit in their base and hold their hand until their opponents are ready to give them an opportunity to team fight, right?
Yeah.
So T-Show, they don't have a lot of good options available to them, but making sure that they don't seed an absolutely free Roshan would be a big first option. Also, getting a gem just for these wolves would radically swing the vision advantage that they're
and they did have one now. They got one. Oh, Sasuke looking.
They one on Beastmaster, yeah. He needs to be with his team.
Oh my god, look at Carlin brought down to half HP with that one Sunstrike, and they're all going to end up running back. Now, the Eagle does end up spying out Roche, but again, if they leave their base at any point, like you look at the top lane, you got these Treants that are continuously pushing it in. They just can't come and contest. What do you do at this point?
They have to wait on high ground now.
Yeah.
Right, they are losing a lot of net worth per minute, per second to their opponents, as we mentioned, because they have no map control. There's not a lot else to say. If they go out, they are almost certainly going to be decimated because of the vision advantage. The only way to equalize that vision advantage is to use their high ground. And even that is pretty miserable just because of the way that the Ags is going to give Night Stalker completely unobstructed vision, even over the high ground.
Yeah. Well, it does look like they might be waiting for the next nighttime before something happens.
KBs are almost on Lycan and Invoker as well, so they might just be waiting out those items.
I will say that it does sort of feel like, oh god, and they might actually be able to catch Moo here. The roar from afar, the right clicks are going to be there, Walrus Punch as well as the catch, and that's going to be another kill. So this is the thing, is I feel like this was one of the problems that you see a lot with some of the top tier teams, is that you still end up running into situations where you have trouble closing out the game. And this is like a small pick, but nonetheless it's sort of emblematic of maybe a little bit of a bigger problem, because now you've got BKB that's up on OD. He doesn't need a lot to be able to farm, or to fight, I mean.
Right, and this is what we were talking about before, right? To DC's credit, unlike most teams that have this sort of strategy, they have yet to plateau off. They are still getting net worth at a pretty rate.
Mhm.
That will eventually stop when they all start to group up and push on the high ground. They're no longer farming camps. Their items are going to stop rolling in. And if T-Show can take 1 or 2 decent fights on their high ground at that moment, the game could very well crack wide open in their favor. And you can tell Digital Chaos are a little concerned about that. They want to make sure that they hit their pitch very carefully.
Well, and they are ended up, moving up to the top lane to try and push this out. As soon as Z-Talk also, I knew I was going to do it at some point. As soon as Moo ends up, eventually picking up that Aghanim Scepter, the problem of needing to keep the creep waves pushed out consistently doesn't exist anymore. So that's something that's pretty nice, I would say. And even so, you can see like the sort of the walk through the jungle as all the treants are going to be able to scout out everything that's going on over there. They're not going to end up being surprised, I don't think. As again, T-Show are just sitting in their base and trying to keep the creep waves pushed out until they end up having an opening.
The Ursa is getting close to having a BKB done. Even though there are BKBs up on DC, there's about to be another BKB up on the Lycan, there's a 10-second BKB up on the Invoker. T-Show has a lot of pure damage, and they have a lot of physical damage, so the BKB is not as big of a deal in the T-Show as it is in the DC, who are reliant on Sunstrike, they're reliant on Cold Snap, they're reliant on the Shadow Wave. The Weave is going to help quite a bit with that, but it still is going to be difficult if you're not able to kite out the Ursa, even with his gold disadvantage. This is the right moment to push, I think.
Well, it looks like it's time to go as they have ended up moving up there, and just look at how quickly it drops. Weehaw does end up getting roared for the moment. The stuns are there. He does have a BKB if he wants to drop it, and hasn't ended up using it yet. He is going to end up going down. Excuse me, he doesn't have a BKB. He's already dead. Aegis is down as well. Misery gets chased out, and he is going to end up getting Astral. I think that he goes down here. Resolution trying his best to right-click down the OD, and he does manage to find the kill. A secondary one is they're not going to be able to catch that Sunstrike, but I think that the Lycan is just going to be able to run down these heroes. Bardo is going to end up going down, and it looks like with eyes on the prize, they're moving back for these barracks. Buyback by the Tusk as well as the Glyph committed. And this might be a moment where they need to think about backing out again. Rezo dropping somewhat low, is controlled for the moment by those shards. He's going to end up getting Walrus punched here in just a second. Do they have enough to catch him? Ghostwalk away. They didn't end up doing it. The gem is still on the ground. There's going to be the counter initiation with the Wolves. They are going to be able to kill off Bardo. Dieback, that's all heroes dead. This is a huge problem right now. There's no buybacks.
The
Only
gem will be saved. No, maybe saved, but yeah, it's probably GG.
Oh my goodness.
This is the moment. I mean, when you have, what, 2,500 net worth advantage at 29 minutes, when you do decide to go high ground, it should look like that. Every game that you see where that advantage exists and it doesn't look like that, somebody played wrong. And Digital Chaos showing that they know exactly how to take it.
Well, very well played indeed. GG well played as Digital Chaos take game 1 of this best of 3 series. Yet again, if you guys feel so inclined, drop us a follow on Twitter at Lyrical Dota, at the Wonder Cow. We're going to be back in just a second with game number 2, and then later on today, we're going to be taking a look at Shazam versus Evernovas, which should be another great matchup. Thank you guys again for tuning in. We'll see you guys in just a second. So we're going to play some more tunes.